Hello, Bible readers. It is Friday. We have made it trudged through a lot of Leviticus and some parts of Matthew that are not so easy to get through either. Good work. You're doing it. This is among the hardest parts, I think, that we'll have the whole year. So good work. It is September 4th, and we're reading Leviticus 20, 21, and 22. And that means there's just 2 more days of Leviticus left. And then there's Numbers. But anyway, so Leviticus, and then there's Matthew today, chapter 24, the rest of chapter 24. And really, as I was looking at this part of the holiness code, which is where we're still at in Leviticus, we are reading today about holiness in worship, about how the actions of one can affect the whole. I think this can matter, this message, the particulars, the specific demands, commands of the holiness code, we can really get stuck on a lot of, does this one apply to us in 2020? Does this one not? And I think that may be a mistake to try to figure out which ones still pertain to life as it is now, as opposed to which ones do not. Maybe it's helpful to look at them in a bigger context, to think that holiness and worship and worshiping the one true God and not worshiping idols, to not bring in the worship of idols into a sanctuary or into a time and place where the one true God is to be worshiped. That's something I think to take away from these chapters of Leviticus. Holiness in family relations, holiness in the priesthood. I particularly got stuck on this one, that the leader's character should be reflected in the family of the priest. So like if my kids or if my wife say or do something that's maybe out of step with what is holy, I have a hard time with that, right? But I also understand that there is a sense of, to those whom much is given, much is expected. And so if one is entrusted with priestly responsibilities, then that priest and their family would be, we can't be perfect, right? But there would be a sense of expectation that we wouldn't mishandle money or mishandle sacrifices of any kind in this case. And then the last one is the holiness in sacrificial offerings, and that's about offering first fruits, not offering leftovers. And that still applies today. So I guess that's my thought today on on the holiness code. Some of the specifics are hard, and I can get stuck on them. But the greater message of them is still applicable. I think very applicable. In the Matthew text, we're talking about parables of watchfulness. And I think this is a part, every Advent, we get to late November or early December, the 4 weeks before Christmas, and we'll hear a lot of strange texts that make us wonder, what is all this about? And we don't study it a lot. The parousia, the end of all things. What is it exactly Christians are hoping for? How specific do we get with, when is the return of Jesus happening? There's a lot of we could study this quite a bit, actually. And that's what Matthew's speaking to, given the apocalyptic context of Daniel. And remember, Matthew's referring a lot to Daniel here. With its hopes for a new age and the fullness of God's kingdom, it's not surprising that there should develop in Jewish apocalyptic circles a fascination with calculating the apocalyptic timetables. It's also not surprising that a strong skepticism should arise in response to the failure of such calculations. In other words, a lot of people were trying to figure out when exactly is the Son of Man coming, and then when they were wrong, they'd get, that would get pointed out very often. And so it may be preferable to read this section, first of all, in the framework of the quarrel between the Matthew's community and the Jewish groups that opposed them. As far as, we can't know the time or place or the exact hour, but I think the message for us from all this, without knowing all the background that maybe we could, is that Christians should always act as if the coming of the Son of Man is near. That's the point, that we always live with watchfulness. I am one with my God. My God is with us, all of us, at all times and in all places.